Oh man, someone's planning to join in on something. I should probably explain this real lickety split. Someone posted on the fan initiative that he wanted to join in on translation, which I'm gonna translate everything anyway, because one, we're gonna have to overlook each other's work, and secondly, I still want to do everything. Like I still think that this has become much less just translation and a lot more commentary on everything. That and I find translation fun. I like how everything I find fun is not what I'm gonna be doing as a job. Ain't that a fucking hoot? The answer is not really. Like, it's called that. It's just a stupid part. We're still at fun because I don't know. One thing that gets me is something about Katsuharu's date feels very weird. You go over, you learn his life story, you go and sell some ice cream. What? Like even with Kevin, it feels like there's something going on. With Katsuharu, it's something about his date sticks in my head. I don't know what it is, but it's not easy to explain. I just love how everyone's like. I love how this is just. It's such a weird encounter, isn't it? As you look at that. Oh, we're really not that far off. Oof. Let's have people abusing the situation. I know what I'm feeling. I'm going to suffer an emotional collapse in a few days because reasons that I don't really like. I think I'm starting to get to that point where I want to live on my own because, I'll be honest, the advantages are starting to outweigh the negatives at this point. The thing that gets me, though, is... Does Katsuharu just kind of stand there? Is he just kind of, like, flipping burgers? He's like, I'm standing here. First you got Grr. Who is Grr? I don't know. I do know he's a unique sprite, but I don't know who Grr is. This is not easy to do, because... There's an image sheet for this, isn't there? I know this one's involved, but I don't know if that's Grr. Oh, Gray. There we go. Grr, who is art supplies. Yeah, like, the thing that gets me is, if this is your cameo, how upset would you be? Because, like, the other cameos are at least like with the main story. You got Ophidia at the store, you got the lady at the... You got the guy with Bryce's date, where he, like, shows up, he's like, alright, wanna get some drinks? You got, the guy at the bench who's like, wow, that's interesting, that just happened. You got the person at the archives. And then you're a random side character in a not properly developed side date. You might... I don't know. The funny thing is, I don't know how they distributed the roles. Because some roles didn't really get distributed. Like, what I put myself up for never happened. Giving me the implication that it might have been Lorm's character who got in the way, so to speak. Because similar purposes. But what gets me is... Even if that's the case, Lorm doesn't actually fill that slot, implying that the story wasn't 100% worked out when they started asking that question. And now Katsuharu is selling it? What? God, this word's really complicated. I think it... Like, in English, it's pretty straightforward. But in Dutch, it gets a waar, and it always trips me up on which one does and doesn't do it. Because it shifts to the side. And now we get Lamus. That's it? Like, are there not that many cameo characters? Also, this guy... Construction Hat and Flyer does not compute. Like, this is a runner who clearly does art that makes sense. Although it looks a bit Earth Dragon-y with how the arms go straight down. And again, who knows? Like, I appreciate how you can just tell these are furry characters. Look at that. This one, a little bit less. Like, this is somewhat of a believable thing, especially since the spikes go straight into the... It looks more natural of a design. And Lamus, I guess, is just a flat color. And it's like, okay, this is a design, I guess. Like, something about Lamus feels a little bit like the guy lying on the floor. It's like he just exists. Here's a character who has about as much character design going into him as a flat board of paper, just a flat sheet of paper. And again, for some reason, every single time I see him, that bow tie just trips me up. I don't know why. It also looks like a brindle, the mustache, because it goes all dark. He's also one of the more unusual designs. Like, some of the side characters, especially fucking Kevin, are establishing norms that aren't otherwise established, which is very unusual. So, this is like in a prehistoric era. You'd think they would, like, dragons are implied to be heat resistance, and yet somehow, nah, there's some jumps in logic here that need to be a little bit readjusted. Which is, either dragons are resistant to heat, to the point they don't give a shit, they are well ventilated, so they can take heat for a while, but they will eventually overheat. Or, they're heat resistant for the time, which seems more impressive than it is, but they still need to have, like, days off because it's just too hot to work. Because, fun fact, if you work in conditions where you would basically get a heat stroke from staying outside, might consider unionizing a little bit over that, because that's not the kind of stuff you want to live with. Like, the human body is made for that. Like, the human body is made for some pretty lazy lazing about. You'd be surprised how much humanity is made for lazy points and just bursts of excitement. You know, I thought I heard the alarm, but that's something else. Why, though? Like, why, though? Wouldn't he logically order himself a cup, too? What does it mean, I'll make it count? Also, you'd think that I would have to clear this with the... This is funny, isn't it? Is... Like... The backer characters, actually, no, I didn't clear it. I didn't originally clear it. I don't remember clearing Ophinia's text. Meaning that, someone could just, if he knows the person involved and really doesn't like him, could just make some very mean text, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, ow! Never saw that one coming, did you? You can't see it coming, because you probably don't speak the language. Which would also beg the question how you know them personally enough to have a vindictive attitude, but there you go. So here's the thing that gets me. This line is, to me, it's like, is this an episode in a sitcom? Because that's really what it kind of sells itself as, you know? Like, the speed is way too fast. There's not a lot of downtime in between anything, which I guess is a problem in general. Oh, man. Where's Bryce is the thing that gets me. Bryce shows up earlier, but he doesn't show up here, despite Bryce having a personal escort. Oh. I'll be honest, this has been going on for a while and I don't want it to stop because there's something fun about this. Like, even with all the complaining and the ups and the downs, I really like doing this. This is fun. It might be the story, it might be the fact that I get to talk about it a lot. I don't know. But there's just something about this that I like a lot. Oh, that's the other way around. Jesus. Oh, it's there's a little horn that beeps up during this song. Like, really? After everything that's going on, this is how you're gonna address her? What is Trade Commissioner? That's a position I've never heard of. How's that spelled? Oh, wow, it's actually with a fucking K too. Wow. Why am I swearing so much lately? I don't know why. Like, what a situation. Alas! Like, I wonder, like, I know that the guy, that Lorm's guy, Goldkin, had involvement with, Lorm's conversations and whatnot. Like, he must have overseen the script. But I wonder how much Katsuharu's and other character scripts were overseen. Like, was it exclusively Lorm because there's a longer running line and needs to be certain different information? Like, how much? Like, how much? I've asked this before, but how much? Because I had none. So I know that at the lower levels, people were just kind of left to fate. And at the medium levels, I can only assume that, like, a certain degree of character setup was required. Wow, that's one heck of a post someone just put down. But the thing is, Tatsu Park is implied to be some... Like, is Tatsu Park a station of commerce or something? Like, why is it drawing people away from this location? This is longer than I thought it was, but still not as long. It's weirdly long. And again, for some reason, she has a lot of more personality here than otherwise. Why does she keep calling him my friend? Like, it's so unusual. It's something she suddenly just does, and I don't think she does it anywhere else either. Yeah, there's something to be said for a random businessman who sells just ice cream suddenly getting assistance from the Minister of Culture and Arts in this respect. There's some questions to be asked there. Yesterday was weird. Yesterday was so weird. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what's going on lately. Everything is just weird. I feel weird. I don't like it. Like, why don't you just buy an ice cream on the way here? Like, that sounds such an obvious thing, but it's just skipped over, because so much is skipped over. I like how immediately she's like, no, it's everyone else, you dinguses. It's such a... it's just, I don't know. Yeah, like I was about to ask, like, how she could do that. I like how she just buys it all. How is she gonna afford this? Man. Why does it seem so much longer? Every time I scroll down. excitement, excitement. I need a good word for this. Ah, that's a good one. Here's the thing. 40 years implies that Emira is probably pretty old. Considering that Emira, like, unless he went to her specific town, which would be one heck of a coincidence, that she'd have to. Yeah, it wouldn't make a lot of sense otherwise, because she'd still have to study, and she's not been 40 years in office. What is a patron of the arts? Un patron. Yeah, that doesn't work very well. That's like way too up there. This is like you're a saint. Vlees geworden. The corporeal form of something. It's really weird. What a weird date this is. Like, it's such a weird date! In which suddenly Emira shows up, has a tiny development moment in which some character shines through and we're like, okay. It's especially weird because Emira isn't like, listen, you're really only here because the portal's broke, right? Like, don't you go throwing party. Like, that doesn't come up, which if that's supposed to be a character moment, don't be that subtle. Especially in a game of multiple paths. You wanna not be subtle in that regard. This is weird. This is super weird. This implies that This implies what I thought earlier is the reason Bryce was there is for no good reason. Bryce showed up entirely because of because there was supposed to be a cameo slot. There's a lot of cameo slots for this Katsuharu thing, which I guess makes sense, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't hurt to have some random people show up. Like Sebastian doesn't have to be the mailman. That's what I'm trying to say. You know. I guess Ophinia, like, the funny thing is, if Ophinia, if like, that's the weird thing, is the cutout text implies it's Sebastian, And that makes it weirder, because wouldn't it logically have been Ophinia to do that, considering that I said, yeah, she would probably be a delivery person? Like, it's odd that the default... Unless that was written ahead of time. It was probably written ahead of time. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's written ahead of time, because that's the original opening scenes, and that was available in the demo, and the demo kind of has to cover it without Lorm, and without any available cameo characters. Meaning that Lorm happened soon enough that the consideration wasn't even given. And even then... Like, the thing that gets me is a lot of... it feels like a lot more cameos got diverted here, and with Bryce effectively taking up that spot, it's even weirder. I'm going to mention Bryce specifically because it's weird if you don't. You know, this really reminds me of, like, when things is, like, a dream state, or it's, like, not logical, like, it's not the reality, and they're trying to avoid letting you taste something. It's like, if you taste it, you'll realize it's not special, so we can't ever let that happen. You know, that kind of logic. The funny thing about this statement is, it implies that Katsuharu goes to other towns and somehow does not make his money there! Like, Katsuharu implies that he goes to other towns as well. How does his business fail? Like, is this his main market? And if it is, why doesn't he shift if the market is drying up? You know, it's kind of weird. Like, he seems so traditionalist, but for no reason. Like, there's a lot of solutions and options staring him in the eye and just like, no, I'm not gonna bother with those. The funny thing about this is he wasn't bankrupt at the time itself, like he implies he's approaching bankruptcy. And what gets me more is, that's the closing line of this! It's not like goodbye or anything, it's just, I'd be bankrupt! And he just vanishes out of existence. Can you imagine if that's the last line you say in reality? It's like, I'll be bankrupt. I'll be honest, the song's kinda cute, and all in all, it's a nice side date. It's just a little bit of a diversion, which I say it needs, because you kind of need to establish the world as more than just things you have to visit. And some things as things that just exist. No reason, they just exist. Like, I love this. I love this because there's no options. You have no agency in this whatsoever. You met Katsuharu and saved his shop, but could you say no to that? I mean, against all that of artisan ice cream, I mean, you know, it's system being extremely sassy about the fact that you have no real personal agency in this as the player, but it's a big of a wink and nod because you kinda gotta think about it. This is weird. It has no options whatsoever, and I complained about that exact problem with Lorm, but here it works, because there's something going on! That isn't just people talking, it's like something happened, you achieved something, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not as grumpy. We'll figure that out later, when I'm gonna be grumpy again. What's up next? I don't know. I'm gonna pick someone. What's name list? No, not Lorem 5. I want name list. Oh, this is all the characters and their names. Man. Are there any more, are there any more, like, what's they called? Why is Miles and Ezekiel here? Oh, there's the character names for some things that come later up. But, are there any more, like, why is that Quaz? Oh, because he has a There's some weird stuff going on with this character. Because he showed up late enough that his file name is weird. But I mean, is there any more cameos coming up? I don't remember. Reasonably, yes. Anyway, someone's going to sign up and start interfering with the fact that I can do this all on my own. Which I rather liked. I really appreciated being able to do this all on my own. Maybe he can just do all the... No, even if he did just the correction, he'd catch up way too fast. I'm still going to do it anyway. Like I said, I just like it. I like doing this. I'll be sad when this is over. To some extent, I'm having more fun with this than the original playthrough, if only because the original playthrough was kind of a shitfest. And if soon it's going to be a shitfest again... I'm so mad! It's so telling that these names are at the bottom. Like, it cuts off its store clerk. All of these are side characters that showed up later. I can only imagine that since this is all here too, a lot of Zhong... Like, here's the thing. It's entirely possible that a lot of parts about Zhong were added later down the line. Like, it's entirely possible that they expected... Like, there's not that many cameo slots. There's only a few of them. Which might explain why some of the cameos are in weird places. It might explain why Katsuharu's date works out the way it does. Is because they needed the extra space? I'm not sure. This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fucking fun. Because, oh, or less. Yeah, book. We can keep that. Slide. We're gonna have to figure something out. Oh, that's gonna have to figure something out. Oh, system's down here. Isn't system up here too? The narrator, Al. Yeah, here's system again. Which for some reason shows up here again. I don't get that. Oh! Ah! Chewing gum. I appreciate this. Like I was like, chewing gum. Oh, here's also the other letters, I guess. Old Japanese word for dragon. Very old, because people tend to use Ryu nowadays. Cuthbert. Saint Cuthbert! What are you doing here? Get my mace!